As time goes on, I find my playstyles and tastes in games changing. I'm a lot slower than I used to be, and not in terms of raw reaction time, more so that I enjoy to have conversations with the games I play. I enjoy the slow-paced games that want me to slow down and smell the roses as opposed to being shuffled down levels at a brisk pace, so I don't stop too often to notice how linear and restrictive the levels actually are. A developer friend of mine suggested to me a few months ago to start playing games on the hardest difficulty they allow, because when playing on the easiest difficulty, the in-game levels and gameplay aren't able to tell their own stories, and you find the gameplay to be actually an annoying blockade between you and the next cutscene. The engagements you work through become samey and repetitive. Down moments of no combat aren't appreciated as much, and overall, the gameplay loses its voice. When playing a game on its hardest difficulty, you and the game are forging a story together, an intimate connection you and the piece of art share. I'm sure we all have those stories of beating Halo on Legendary, and that one room that took forever to get past. I'm sure we all have different ways that we eventually triumphed that room. That's a story that you and the game crafted together. That's a memory you and the game share together. That is the true beauty of games as an art form. The game itself may be a work of art, but games then work with their players to craft stories and experiences and works of art together that transcend the original game. This is something few other art forms can boast about, and it's part of why I completely disagree with the narrative that video games are only dangerous and they're a waste of time and they're for children. I realized last week that it had been a little while since I'd played Halo 3 ODST. When it first came out, like many others in my school, I dismissed it as boring and dumb because games like Call of Duty were teaching me that slow, methodical storytelling was lame. Over time, I grew to appreciate it more, but last week was when ODST and I truly bonded and crafted a story together. A tale of hell unleashing on Earth, desperately searching for a few bullets for my pistol as a brute kill squad hunted me down, kicking up rainwater as they splashed through the puddles and laughed into the night. Last week, I sat down, loaded up my 360 copy of ODST, turned off my lights, turned off my phone, I plugged in my headphones, and prepared for an evening in the new Mombasa streets. ODST's atmosphere is so palpable that you could make a convincing argument that the game itself has a personality. And last week I discovered that. In today's video we're going to talk about why ODST is so immersive and why its story is so clever. And as always guys, if you enjoy the video, remember to leave a like and subscribe. Let's begin. In order to figure out what makes ODST so immersive, I thought we should start with the Rookie. The Rookie is one of my favorite video game protagonists, and not because he's a deep and well-written character, but because he felt like a natural evolution of Chief's role in the Bungie games. In Halo CE, internally, Bungie actually couldn't agree on whether Chief should be silent or have his own personality and dialogue, and that kind of reflected in the entire series. Well, some would argue that this is just Bungie being inconsistent and not being able to make up their minds, and they'd be absolutely right to say that. I would argue that that inconsistency led to the birth of an interesting avatar for the player. In cutscenes, he was passive enough and subtle enough with his speech and presence that it gave you a vague idea of his personality, so that once the gameplay arrived, Chief shut the hell up and allowed the player to now become Master Chief. He wouldn't speak or do anything without player consent. You were 100% in control of him, and it allowed you to really become this character. It's sort of like as a kid when you saw Star Wars, and then after the movie was over, you picked up your Han Solo action figure and you played with it. Han Solo in the movie, he's done now. Now it's your turn to be Han Solo. This action figure won't speak for you, it won't be Harrison Ford's performance for you. That's up to you now. And because you don't have Han Solo there babbling and telling you how to play as him, you're allowed to craft your own stories with this action figure because of the blueprint that the movies gave you on how this character should generally perform. Most modern games feel insecure about using gameplay and environmental detail to deliver a story, and I think that's why they try pushing the narrative that silent protagonists are bad and make for weak storytelling. They seem worried that the player isn't smart enough to pick up on the story the world is telling without words, so you often have a voice protagonist that breaks the immersion by constantly babbling out loud and explaining what you're supposed to be getting from the picture, which leads to me feeling as if the game is treating me like a tiny child who can't pick up on environmental and art detail. Modern Halo games especially have gotten quite bad with this. I think Blue Team and Osiris being very good examples. Locke and Chief both have amazing voices, but at the end of Halo 5, I wanted to duct tape their mouths shut because they had to make comments on every room you entered. When ODST drops you off in the lonely streets of New Mombasa on that cold, rainy night, Rookie doesn't immediately begin babbling out loud and over-explaining the subtle details in the environment, which just ruin the point.
Sure is atmospheric. What happened here? Oh, that sign. It's telling me to go this way. That's a subtle detail in the environment I just picked up on. Oh, that sign too. I better follow the signs. Sure is cold tonight, 'cause of the rain. That's a jackal, better kill it. Wow, what are those? It's some alien writing. I don't understand it, I better look out for more. Wow, that camera's watching me. I wonder what...
Thanks to the game having faith in the player to not be dumb, it lets you be the rookie, and allows the world to engage you on a more one-on-one level than most modern games. Instead of having the rookie describe how wet the rain is to the player as he monologues out loud, you feel the water soaking in through your boots. You can hear the pattering of it on your helmet. I understand that this is mostly subjective, as some people would actually prefer to be co-piloting a well-established character with his own views and thoughts, but I do think that the way Rookie was handled in ODST shows how a lot of modern game worlds are worried and scared that they can't immerse the player without having a talking character constantly over-explaining and pointing out the subtle details in the world, essentially having their voice protagonists build the world for the world. Since the protagonist is us, we can't just babble exposition to ourselves out loud. It's up to the world to tell the story, and man, does it have an interesting story to tell. In the beginning of the game, you see some graffiti that says "Hell on Earth," and while that definitely was written by a panicked civilian, or a crazed thug who was maybe taking advantage of the carnage to embrace the mayhem, this graffiti almost completely summarizes the world of the game itself. New Mombasa has become a hell on Earth, and we get to experience the slow and terrifying transformation ourselves in 3 ways. We get to see the transformation firsthand during the campaign missions as we race through the city dodging Wraith and Jackal fire, through the eyes of the civilians on the ground with Sadie's story, and most importantly, the aftermath, the complete transformation. Sadie's story is a set of logs that you uncover as you traverse the lonely streets, being hunted by monsters from another world. Each set of logs will be called a circle, and similar to the 9 circles of hell, These logs will tell a story, with the underlying theme being a different sin made manifest by the carnage. When listening to these logs as you take in what the aftermath looks like, the game makes the player use their imagination. You can picture these streets alive and full of life. You can smell the food and smog in the air. You can hear the honking horns and foot traffic. ODST deciding to slowly reveal its world to us in a non-linear way and require that the player use their imagination to help with the world building is why I appreciate it more than the standard linear fashion of Reach's story, which is very, very similar to this game. I feel like I'm doing a puzzle and all these jumbled pieces are coming together, and by the end, they do come together and they complete the story, giving me a full picture of this hell on earth and let me experience the transformation. From the people that inhabited it, to the way they devolved into monsters as demons fell from the sky. You discovered the story yourself as you were being subtly guided by your own guardian angel. In typical Halo fashion, ODST draws from religious works to help build a world around these themes, and one of the game's themes that actually integrates with the gameplay seamlessly is the idea of a guardian angel protecting and guiding us from the influence of Hell's demons. The engineer who took control of the city's infrastructure acts as our protector, silently watching over us and subtly guiding us on the path. The Brutes and Covenant have a very dark aesthetic to them in this game, and in the night as the lightning flashes and the horns of the Brutes glisten in the rain, they look like demons from hell. And the heavenly glow of Virgil and the soft noises that he makes that contrast with the snarling laughter of the Brutes. In the end of the game, when you finally find your guardian angel and make it out of this hell, you feel like a changed person, and you aren't stopping a giant halo ring from firing. You aren't punching a prophet of the Covenant in their face. You're just taking a stroll down a lonely street and spending an evening with the world of ODST.